full moon transmission. Just a little check-in with you to discuss a few of the astrological alignments of this moment. You can't really do this wrong because we like to say evolution happens anyway. The forces that are streaming in, you're either going to adapt to them or you're not going to. We like to provide these lunar moments in order to discuss the frequencies that are available to align with, or to call on, or to draw strength or insight or understanding from. So yeah, that's how we do this. So this is a full moon in Pisces. It's also known as the corn moon. We like to remember that the full moons are, whereas new moons are a better time to start things and begin new cycles, full moons are a midpoint in between that starting point of the new moon and whenever the next new moon is. So when we get to this point, 2 weeks after the new moon, it's traditionally a time for balancing. We'll talk about that in 1 second. But we also love the idea that full moons are times to celebrate and give thanks, and that they're either very spiritual moments or very insane moments, right? Because there's so much energy available being reflected by the moon from the sun, because the sun is opposite the moon. So much energy available that if we don't keep center and if we don't try to align with these frequencies, they can sometimes overwhelm us, especially if you're highly sensitive to these sorts of things. So this is why full moons, because they're opposite the sun, the moon is opposite the sun, they're a moment to balance everything that's been seeded, planted, grown since the last new moon. We check in with this big raw energy from the full moon. Sometimes it's very helpful, sometimes it's very challenging. Usually it's a bit of both. But the idea is to use that energy to balance whatever has been going on since the new moon. So this is a Pisces full moon, a big watery full moon. Very, flowy and not just mergy, which is Scorpio, but like submergy. Like it's not just like let's drown together and lose ourselves in each other. It's like let's drown and lose ourselves in each other and then submerge ourselves beneath the waves until our bodies dissolve and become a part of the great cosmic sea. Very Pisces, right? We like to think of Pisces 12th house as the nameless, the formless, the mysterious, the unknown, the hidden, the secret. It's also, because it's the last sign in the zodiac, the sign that's used to dissolve everything that's still hanging on from the last round into the darkness so that the spark of Aries can ignite a new cycle. So it's really great time for that kind of releasing. And that's what we ask is, it not only does it get released, it gets reintegrated either into the whole or into the void or into ourselves or whatever before that cycle begins. So what we ask you is to consider what is expired or what is ready to expire, what's kind of hanging on, what seems like it doesn't want to expire, and know that the way this moon is working, we'll go into it a little more, but the way that this moon is working, it's like the full moon in Pisces is drawing attention to that little piece of like skin flake that's sticking on. And like, sure, you could pick at it and cause it to like bleed and stuff, but Pisces says soak it and just watch it dissolve. What does soak mean? It means don't pick at it using air and swords and criticality. It means like, allow, accept, encourage the healing that's already in process to complete itself. It gives you, to some extent, Pisces, the deepest healing possible because it's the completion of healing, because it really just encourages you to let it go, right? It's not even that it encourages you. That's it. Literally, its function is to dissolve what no longer serves, right? To dissolve something that's of a different moment, right? Because it's the end of the whole zodiac cycle. Pisces is like, well, that was a really lovely journey. I love, all of this, good, bad, in between. It's this question of like, what friction or resistance is being revealed by the Pisces full moon that's ready to go? What are the patterns and cycles that came up for you during the Virgo new moon cycle of the last couple of weeks? Things that you were trying to implement or disciplines that you were trying to start or stick to. Whatever you've been working on, we're reading this Pisces full moon as illuminating the spaces where there is resistance or friction or especially rigidity, right? Because Virgo is earthy. Virgo, opposite Pisces, is earthy. It's very organized and earthbound and matter-of-facty and very practical, very pragmatic. It's connected to like physical healing and routine. It can just get so heavy and so annoying, but like that's also the point, to give you a container so that glory can be birthed from within the repetitive structures of the Virgo frequency. But the Pisces says, we get it. Of course it's frustrating, but like, oh well, probably going to want to soak that calloused skin so that it can be scrubbed off because you're just going to have to keep walking. So it's like, you don't want to just like leave a callus on your foot for it to build up and up and up and up. Pisces rules the feet too, which is very cool. No, you want to soak it and get your feet really tender and squishy so that you can scrape whatever nasty is on them and then keep walking, keep going on your journey. There's also this other energy of the Pisces full moon illuminating what is hiding. Like we said, 12th house is all that's hidden. It's like Pisces illuminating what's hiding in the corners, but because it's the full moon and it's still mysterious, you don't even necessarily see what it's revealing, but you feel it. So you feel me? Do you have a sense, especially in the last few days as we've been approaching this full moon and probably for a few more, of like being affected or even controlled or especially motivated by something that you can't tell what it is, right? So it's almost like that Pisces vibe, you know, the full moon in Pisces is illuminating what would prefer to remain hidden, but because it's the full moon, we're not looking at it directly, but it's almost like everywhere we look, even though we're not looking at it directly. So think about that. Like, we've just been asking this question so much. What motivates us? What is unconsciously motivating us? Or even in this sort of end of healing cycle moment, given the things that are going well, or the intentions that are manifesting, or the disciplines that are working, and the disciplines that we're practicing, right? Given all of those things, and given the resistance that the Pisces moon is illuminating against those kinds of supportive structures, it's telling us something about who we are and what motivates us, and what motivates us even unconsciously. It's like you can't look right at that which the Pisces full moon is revealing about your motivations. You can't stare directly at it, but if you stop trying to look for it, you can see the reflection of these motivations everywhere you look. And that's the full moon balancing part of it, because once you see it, you then start asking yourself, how is what I'm seeing contributing to, supporting, or hindering the intentions that I'm setting, or the practices that I started building during the Virgo full moon? But by the time we get to Wednesday, the 22nd, the equinox happens and the sun goes into Libra, and we've been clocking this with clients the last few weeks. We're expecting a big pop of freeing, clarifying energy when the sun goes into Libra. We think it's going to be a big, literally a whole new season. Fall will begin. And it's not sad this year. It's reasonable. We need to do some reaving and reaping of what fucking fresh hell we have wrought this year. And it's okay. And reminder, that's why we do these things, to just try, in the midst of all this chaos, to identify a few, 2-3 things, dynamics, principles, ideas, questions, propositions, solutions that align this seeming chaos with some of the natural cycles of the planetary bodies. That's why we do this. Because, you can interpret astrology any way you want, but it's based on things that are going on in the sky. So, you probably wouldn't be watching this long if you didn't at least fuck with astrology a little bit. But it's one of the reasons why we love it, because it's observable. So even if people want to say it's an art and not a science, that's fine. Like, it's observable. I'm not making any of these statements to you based on, my practice or my personal belief or something that I need you to believe. I'm just saying to you, this is where that planet is. This is where that planet is. Astrology's been around for a long time. This is what astrology says that alignment means and these signs mean, and take it, run with it. But the vibe is so that, you could work whatever intentions you want, or you could do anything you want at any time. But when we call out these alignments, it's because they provide a kind of path of least resistance, where if we are working intentions or spells or, meditations or practices of whatever kind, just feel it's nice to get this kind of cosmic weather report so we can maybe do some things and not do some other things. Speaking of, it's like there's not a lot of fire in this, but there's a ton of air and earth and water. So that's just a great example of, this is a moment of, thinking and feeling and dealing with, that's air, water, and earth, thinking, feeling, and dealing with practicalities, earth. But there's not a ton of fire, except for that Mars and Virgo, which I just keep getting this image of like hot clay that's been baking, fired clay, fired earth, scorched earth. And so when there's not a lot of one element, it's nice to remember that element and to sort of call on that as well. So fire in this case says do something, choose something, act something, or act on something, express something, put something out there, because this air and earth and water could get us like stuck in our heads or stuck in our feels or stuck in just like a very dense kind of immutable, immovable reality. Don't forget to just purge every once in a while any heat that comes up. If you start to feel hot and bothered or frustrated or angry, try to express your body, move around, try to express your feelings, communicate or write or journal or whatever, and try to clear your mind, meditate or communicate, or like I said, write it out so that you can get your thoughts outside of you, so that you can, all of those things are examples of fire, because you're putting the body, the mind, or the feelings into action by doing some kind of a practice to sort of purge any, frustration or heat that you might be experiencing. We just want to remind you, we are open for readings. We're doing individual readings and group readings, channeled readings, Edible Spirit sessions, those are called. We're also doing aura picks for groups. We're doing divination with cards. We have class coming up in October, or a reading for self-care and social justice. And we do privates, really. Like, we'd love to teach a little class for you and yours, or do a group reading. We're so grateful to you for tuning in. We love you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are so, so, so delicious.